Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our day of resistance and resilience. I guess the world is cheering for us. So, we wanted to do this day to give us an alternative to just sitting around feeling dread, despair, and depression. Some of us have been struggling with ever since the election. Um, and hopefully, we will have a day of generating some positive energy, of having room for us to also experience the full range of our emotions and bring them present, have that be okay, and to come out with some renewed energy and hope. Um, Thank you all for joining us right here at the beginning. Um, we're going to be doing some other things throughout the day, and you're welcome to come to any or all of them. I'm going to lead a meditation for probably about 20 minutes or so, maybe a little longer. And then we're going to open this up for group discussion and connection. And then at 1 o'clock this afternoon, Charles Williams and Eric Olson are going to present a wonderful presentation on what we can actually do about climate change, regenerative solutions. Give us both some hope and some direction. At 3 p.m., I'm going to be presenting with an amazing facilitator and diversity trainer, chaplain, Dr. Diane Johnson. And we're going to be talking about how do we actually form groups? What are some of our best practices? Because I think a lot of the organizing that's happening right now is encouraging people to get together with a small group of trusted friends, form some kind of affinity group, some kind of activist group, or even some kind of discussion and support group, and then see how we can link those groups up together. And then at 6 p.m., we're going to do a full-blown ritual of resistance and resilience with Evely Posh, who's an amazing, beautiful singer and musician. So that's the plan for today. And having said that, I want to acknowledge that I am speaking to you from the land of the Kashaya Pomo, who have lived in this area where I am on the west coast of California for tens of thousands of years. They tended the land elegantly and carefully to create a garden of abundance. They have a tremendous heritage here of culture, of dance and song and ceremony, of healing, and of especially of basket making. They have been known all over the world for the incredible skill of their basketry. There's also a history here of colonization. This was the furthest south the Russians got on the west coast. They built a fort here called Fort Ross, which you can still go and visit. And that began a series of colonizations from the Russians to the Spanish and the Mexicans, the Californians, the Americans. But through all that, the Kashaya have been here and they are still here. And in recent years, they've actually gotten back a big chunk of land on the coast after many, many years of being reduced to just a 40-acre little rancheria. So now they again have access to their traditional gathering and fishing grounds. Um, so that is, I think, a victory we can celebrate, and we need at this time to celebrate what we can. I'm just seeing in the chat someone said Leonard Peltier granted clemency. Is that a wish or did that really happen? It really happened? Wow. Okay. I just want to take that in for a moment and give thanks for that. Um, It's something that's long, long, long past due. And, uh, there's a lot of there's a lot of good things Biden has done that he didn't get credit for. There's some tremendous mistakes and awfulness he did that um, I think will tarnish his legacy forever, especially his views on Gaza and his unwillingness to pressure Netanyahu. But for this, I'm giving him a big vote of thanks. Wow. So it's important to start off by remembering good things can happen. I'd ask you all to mute just so we don't have weird noises coming on in. So let's begin with the grounding. So settle yourself, wiggle your butts, uh, get your feet planted firmly on the ground. And I want to recommend this to you. Those of you who've been in things with me before know that I always start this way because this is like, first position in ballet. If you're a dancer, no matter how, even if you're like Baryshnikov, like you start every day with a class and you start doing like pliés and simple things because they're the basis, the foundation. And this is the foundation of everything we do in ritual, but it's also a really useful tool for coming back to yourself when things are stressful, when you can't sleep at night, when you're worried about stuff, when you're in a state of panic. Just to take a breath. And really, the simplest form of it is take a deep breath and feel your feet on the ground. And take a moment, come back, and know where you are. And sometimes just doing that can help you move out of panic and helplessness and into a state where you can make a conscious choice about what you want to do next. Then, what I like to do is imagine myself as a tree with roots going down into the earth, down through my feet, down from the base of my spine. Feel them come down through all those layers of the earth, the topsoil, the mud, the gravel, the waters held in the earth, the fire at the core of the earth. And when you feel that connection, take a breath and let's release into it anything we want to let go of. I want to release my sadness and disappointment. This is Martin Luther King Day. How beautiful it would be if this were the day we were inaugurating the first Black woman president. It's a powerful dream, but I want to release it and let it go. Someday, that dream will come to pass. But clearly, we have more work to do yet before that will happen. And take a breath. Anything you want to release or let go of, just let it go down there. And if you want, you can put it into the chat. There's something you specifically want to name. I see people releasing grief and fear, sadness, anxiety, attachment, isolating, despair. Just let it go. The sound, you can get your body into it. And taking another deep breath, draw some of that fire up from the earth. Think of it as the living, creative energy of the earth, of life. Breathe it up through all those layers of rock and water, through the soil, through the gravel, through the bedrock, through the topsoil. Breathe it up into your feet and legs, up into the base of your spine and your belly. Breathing in and out, feel your spine growing and stretching like a nice flexible tree trunk. Maybe roll your shoulders a little bit. Give a big yawn, stretch out your jaw. Breathe that energy up and out the top of your head like branches. Feel it reach up to the sky and sweep back down to touch the earth again. And just feel that fountain of energy coming up and through you and down and through you. Feel the sky energy out there. I think for most of us it's sunlight. There may be someone here for whom it's moonlight or starlight. But take a breath and breathe that in, take that in. Just like a tree feeds on sunlight. Breathe it in, breathe it down through the top of your head. Down through your heart, hands, down through your belly, all the way down through those roots into the earth. So you can feel that earth energy and that sky energy flowing through you. And take a moment, look at those leaves and branches. They're like a nice thick filter. They're really kind of like the aura we have around us, energy. And they can filter out any negative energy that you don't want to come in. So take a look and see if there's any like holes or breaks or places where those leaves are a little damaged. And use some of this energy, you can grow it out again. You can fill it in. You want it to protect you, to surround you. But you also want to be able to let good stuff in. So it should be a filter, not like a block. You can also take a look and see if there's any places that are like clumps or You know, if you ever prune a tree and you prune it over and over and over again at the same place, it develops a knob. Like, you know, maybe your heart has been broken so many times that it's now like a block of wood and nothing can get through. Maybe use some of that energy to open it up a little bit. Or maybe just the news and the bad news is so overwhelming all the time that you just shut everything out. I think a lot of people have been feeling that sense of like, I've got to shut down, I've got to isolate, I can't take this in. But again, knowing you have this filter, you can take in the news, but not have to take in the whole energy of it. You can allow yourself to feel compassion for people who are suffering without having to take on that suffering and take it into yourself. Because we need to be strong enough to do something about it. And we can't be that strong if we are constantly feeling all the pain of everyone in the world. So just take a moment and adjust that filter and those boundaries. Put a little circle of light around it. And blessed be. And I want to begin this morning with a little inspiration for us all. And because this is Martin Luther King Day, I want to read you a little bit of his famous I Have a Dream speech. I want to acknowledge I can't possibly do justice to his delivery, but if you just even listen to the words, let them form pictures in your mind. It's a dream worth remembering. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right down in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, "My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring." As I was reading that, it really struck me that there are so many pieces of that dream that have come to pass. And we should acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge and celebrate our victories. And of course, there are many parts of that dream where that have yet to be realized. And a lot of what he speaks about coming together in struggle and standing up together, I think is something we need to remember right now. So I'm going to ask you to just take a breath, close your eyes, and I'm going to just close the door because I have a dog, and the dog has his own dog door. But he doesn't like to use his dog door. He likes to go out the main door and leave it open. And now it's freezing cold in here. So I will be right back and take a moment to take in those words. And then we'll move into the meditation. So breathing in and breathing out. Let's close your eyes for a moment. And let yourself think about your own dreams, for what you would like this country to be, for what it would be like to live in a country where that dream was fully realized. You know, where we're looking back at racism and sexism and those things, like now we think about corsets or something. Like it's long in the past, and how did they put up with that? As you take a breath, I'd like you just to think about that Statue of Liberty. That represents, I think, some of the best hopes of what America is supposed to be. You know, standing in New York Harbor, her feet in the water, her torch lifted high above. She was put there as a symbol of welcome to the stranger. She has that poem on her base that says, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." That lamp represents truth. And I think of her in some ways as like the American Bridget, the ancient Celtic goddess of fire and water, with that beacon raised out of the water. And I think of her also kind of as the justice card in the tarot, where justice is holding a sword, that sword of accountability. I imagine that sword flaming with the light from that torch, a beacon. And with all that's happened, and with all the tremendous disappointment of this moment, and all the fear and dread and the hatred that's been dredged up against the immigrant, against the vulnerable, against those who don't conform to our ideas about what gender or culture or race is supposed to be. With all of that, there still is this part of our dream. Yeah. The American dream isn't really just about buying a house and having a good job and having two cars in the garage. I think it really is the dream Martin Luther King spoke about, of creating a world of justice and a world where we can reach out and connect with each other with a sense of kinship, where we create a we that's larger than any of our identity silos and our, political partisanship, that stands for justice and liberty for all, not just for some, not just for the rich or the powerful, but for all. And take a breath and think about that. Imagine you could focus your eyes on that beacon, and there's a bright light shining from it. I can send out beams. It's almost like a radio tower broadcasting, in the depths of Nazi-occupied Europe and broadcasting messages of hope and resistance. That it continues to shine with that vision of kinship and connection. As you take a breath, imagine that all across this land, in every city, every town, every village, every rural area, there are little receptors that take in that beam and amplify it and shine with their own light. We are each those lights. And have you ever seen a spider web when the light catches it just right, and up until that moment it's been invisible, and all of a sudden there's this incredible web that's glowing and glinting with the colors of the rainbow? Imagine that we are all little points on that web, and that web is invisible until the moment it needs to spring into action, and suddenly, there it is, connecting us all of us who hold that dream in our hearts of a world of kinship, of a world of justice, shining with the colors of the rainbow that represents our love of diversity, our understanding that it's diversity that generates resilience. That red, that is our basic life force energy, our righteous anger turned to creativity. That orange, that is our passion, our courage. That yellow, that is our clear mind and our intellect, our ability to use that, our critical thinking, which we need so desperately in this moment when there's so much confusion and so many lies. That green, that is compassion. That's love. Love for the good green earth, for all her creatures, and love also for our fellow human beings and for ourselves. That blue, that is our ability to speak truth to power, the clarity of our expression. That indigo, that is our deepest and truest intuition, honed so that we can tell the difference between a true intuition and wishful thinking. That violet, that is our true spiritual connection. And feel that rainbow rippling out, calling people to the reality that a world of diversity is a world that is more alive, more joyful, more vibrant, more resilient than a world that is all the same. And with a breath, let's imagine sending strands of that web out to wrap around those people who are most vulnerable right now to hate. To the immigrants who are at risk, imagine them surrounded, protected by this rainbow web, and that web reaching out to those of us who are not at risk in that way, to galvanize us into taking action, into standing in solidarity. To our friends who are gender diverse, to all of us who are at risk because we don't fit that stereotype that they're so desperately trying to inflict on us all, the happy mother, father, children, family, narrow definition, that relegation of anyone with a womb to be simply a breeder of children, not a full participant in creating society and culture, that wish to take away our choices about our own bodies. Imagine all of us wrapped in that web, that shining rainbow, and again, sending out the strands to those who we need as our supporters, not our protectors. Thank you. Not to march in front of us, but to have our backs. Imagine that web extending out to the earth herself, to all of the trees, the plants, the animals, the endangered species, the life support systems that are so at risk right now from the ways that we've mistreated the earth. Reminding us once again that we all have a stake in the biodiversity of the planet. And that as we respond to the beauty of the trees and the forests, of the rivers and lakes and oceans, of the mountains, the great prairies, of our own gardens, we're responding to messages about what makes for health, what makes for a thriving planet, and that we are meant to be the earth's loving heart and appreciative eyes and healing hands. And let's extend that web out. And take a breath if there's anyone you particularly want to put into that web for protection, any individuals you know of, any categories of people or things that I haven't specifically spoken of. Just take a breath and imagine that web extending out, surrounding them. And let's take a breath and let that breath become sound to energize and charge that web. And let's take a breath and say thank you. Thank you to all those who are standing up for justice. Thank you to that spirit inside our human hearts that remembers that dream and holds that dream. Thank you to Martin Luther King and to the vast legions of people he stands for, who have taken a stand in this country for civil rights, for racial justice, for all forms of justice. And let's take a moment and bring ourselves back into our physical bodies. Take a breath and feel the edges. Pat yourself. Notice how you're feeling, how the air feels on your skin. Take a deep sniff in. Notice what you smell, what you taste. Open your ears. Notice what you hear. Open your eyes and notice what you see. And welcome back. And I want to say a special thank you also to Dionysus, our wonderful interpreter. And thank you to Charles Williams, who's doing our tech this morning and who's my co-teacher and presenter and co-director in Earth Activist Training, and our whole team for helping us put this on. So we're going to take a little bit of a break now, and then we're going to come back and open it up if people want to talk and have discussion just informally for the next hour or so we'll be on. And I would just ask, is there anyone who needs interpretation?